Lawmakers in the state of New York recently took up a bill that would have banned so-called revenge porn, that is the posting of naked images online without the consent of the naked. The bill failed to pass, though, and some say Google is to blame for that. After not saying anything about the law for years, supporters say Google demanded numerous changes on the day of the vote. Lawmakers balked, and the bill was not even voted on. Beverly Hallberg is the president of District Media Group, and she joins us tonight. Beverly, do you think Google was behind killing the bill?
I think Google took way too long to voice their concerns. This is a bill that's been in the works for about 5 years. We also have 40 states, including Washington, D.C., that have passed similar legislations. The question is, why so late in the game? I think it's suspect. I think it has something to do with them not wanting to have to be involved. But I do think that there is some validity in us not asking platforms like Google, like Facebook, to have to be the arbitrators of what should be on their platforms and what shouldn't. Of course, there are community guidelines that they need to follow, public decency laws, but do we really want Facebook and Google and others to be the arbitrator of what's consensual, what's not consensual? Because should we really put our free speech rights in their hands?
Well, we've already given them our free speech rights. That's the portal through which all human information flows, and they clamp down on ideas they don't like. I mean, they censor ideas that they don't agree with, and they're liberal. But I think you raise a valid point, actually. The question for me is, to what extent does Google have control over the legislative process? Their lobbying efforts seem so vast, but no one ever reports on it.
Unfortunately, too much. I think it's, like I said, extremely suspect. I'm not sure exactly with these legislators in New York City or New York State, what is the poll, why so late in the game? But I think there's some cronyism going on. Are they giving funds to these legislators for their campaigns? What is behind it? But again, I think when it comes to big tech, they are to blame for a lot of things. Even recently, I thought the most surprising story about big tech this week was that they said that Facebook, on one of the Facebook outlets, they said that posting of the amendments from the Constitution was actually hate speech. And there was a Texas publication that leading up to July 4th said, we want to post an amendment every day, show people what's in the Bill of Rights. And one of the amendments they said was actually hate speech. They now have unblocked it and put it back on. But once again, why is big tech determining what is hate speech, what is not? And I think that's concerning. And why are they in the pockets, it seems to be at times, with so many elected officials?
Well, that is the question. So you have a company that has more power than any company has ever had in human history over not just what we know, but how we think. And it has a demonstrated history of censorship, political censorship, and our Congress has done nothing about it. I mean, doesn't that by itself almost suggest that they control the Congress to a greater degree than a company should?
And very concerning. I think the other side of this, too, is that when it comes to these platforms, I think government doesn't know how they work. Even when you look at cybersecurity, what happens with the Russians, with Russian bots and Facebook, there's a lot of questions. Does government and our elected officials and the different branches of government, these agencies, do they even understand how this works? Do they even know the type of regulation? So I think in many ways, when you look at our tech innovation, and it's outpacing what our lawmakers are actually able to keep up with. And so what is the answer to it when government officials don't understand? I do like that we have legislation on state level dealing with some of these laws. What we have to get away with are unelected bureaucrats making regulations. But we need more people, I think, involved in figuring out how to protect our privacy that actually understand the technology, because sadly government just doesn't, or they aren't up to speed as they should.
Yeah, or at least elected officials ought to be writing the laws, you know, and not people you never heard of. Beverly Hallberg, thank you very much. Appreciate it.